Hello and welcome to the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mittich. I am an actor, an author, a yoga instructor, a former ballet dancer, but above all, I am a wildly curious person. So I've spent the past several years researching and studying human behavior, why we do what we do, who and what we innately are, what my purpose is on this planet. And I'm here to share the insights and the tools that curiosity has led me to uncover, in hopes of helping you to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of your own life, and in hopes of inspiring you to become the person that you have always wanted to be. So pull up a chair or go for a walk, hop on that treadmill or go for a drive, and join me as I explore what it is to be a human being in this lifetime.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. We are live from Las Vegas. I am at Creation's Trek to Vegas with a live audience and a very special guest. He is, hands down, one of the kindest people I have ever met. He is patience and compassion and joy personified. You know him as Saru in Star Trek Discovery, but you also know him from Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, Hellboy, Hocus Pocus, and so many other iconic and critically acclaimed films. Please let me have the honor of introducing the one and only Doug Jones. Hi, Doug.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for doing
coming
this.
today. I'm always worried no one's going to show up.
I know,
You know
right?
what I'm saying? Yeah.
This is such a treat. Thank you so much. Dougie,
Yes, my precious Sarah.
you are truly one of the kindest people I've ever met. You took me under your wing in season 1. You taught me patience with prosthetics. You taught me so much. And I've always wanted to know something. Have you always been this way? Have you always been this kind and compassionate? Or did something happen in your life that triggered it and sent you in this direction? Talk to me about where it comes from for you.
Oh, is this a hard question to answer or what? It's like, Sarah, why are you so pretty? Tell everybody. Yeah, right. Oh, me. Kindness is it's a place to live in, I believe. And I would say, thinking back to my early years in life, I was the youngest of 4 boys. So that means I was taunted and teased, right, within an inch of my life and sanity. And so I think I decided that if I wanted to receive kindness, I was going to have to propel it outward first. You know that old saying, if you want to have friends, be a friend? I think that's the motto by which I live. When I was in my freshman year of college, I just finished I was about to start my final exam week of my freshman year in my first year of university. My dad passed away suddenly from a heart attack. And my 3 older brothers and I all, very much rallied around each other during that time. And we'd been like, brother types before, but now we were like showing some affection for the first time. Dougie the Hugger started that day at my dad's funeral. When my brothers took turns coming up to me and, I'm going to get emotional. Stop it. My brothers came up to me one at a time, hugged me, and reminded me that they're still here. And if I need a father figure, that they'll fill in for me, for him. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it was, these hugs were like, we've never done this before. I need this. I like this. This is who I am. And have you heard the theory of the 5 love languages, right? Well, physical affection is one of them. Mm-hmm. I did not realize that was a main love language for me that I had been deprived of, right? So now that I'm used to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, the hugs will continue in my life. And that's why I've become like a voracious hugger to the point of almost being a pervert. I mean, I'm this close.
I'm sure a lot of people here can attest not to that. Yes. Is that where Dougie Huggles?
That's exactly where they came from, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know that, so thank you. Yeah. And so before that, you weren't a big hugging family. You weren't wildly, touch affectionate. It kind of switched from there.
Yeah, not so much before that, right? But my family was much love, and we're a very tight, close family. But that was not a love language spoken at home so much. You know, kiss on the forehead, good night. But as far as like just like sitting on the sofa cuddling with your mom or dad while watching a movie, that never happened. Yeah, they weren't those people. And God bless them, they didn't know how to speak that language, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay.
I love the 5 love languages.
it,
I think they're so important.
it helps explain a lot, doesn't
It
it?
does. Because your love language might not be somebody else's love language. And
Right.
so when you learn people's love languages, it's also a whole new way of communication, right?
Right.
What are the 5 again? So there's
There is, like I said, physical touch. There's words of affirmation. I love you, I love you, I love you.
Yep.
There is quality time. Doesn't matter what we're doing as long as we're together. There is giving and receiving of gifts. I love you, here's a watch. Well, that's a great one. Um, and then there's acts of service, which I love you. That's why I wash the car for you. That's why I do the dishes. That's why I do your laundry. So, Mrs. Lori,
I was just about to ask.
okay, let's get into that. So finding this out was great news for us because my two main ones are words of affirmation and physical touch. Hers are acts of service and quality time. So so it was easy for us to go like, what? You don't even hear me. You know what I mean? Now we get each other.
And
Yeah.
knowing that about each other, I mean, do you also ask more for what you need sometimes to be like, hey, I need more cuddles. I need more physical touch right now, or has it?
Well, we've been married for 40 years now.
Ooh.
So, no, thank you. Yeah. So we don't have to talk a whole bunch, to figure out things anymore. It's like you just kind of osmosis, things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I
That's
mean, so this mindset that you have, I'm really big about mindset, right? And just our natural mindset and how to rewire your mindset if you're really operating from a place of negativity, from stress, from fear. And I think, I did for so many years. And of course, I mean, I still do some days, but do you do anything? I mean, going back to kindness, is it an active choice for you on some days? I mean, I think it's so easy to see someone like you who lights up a room whenever they walk in and to assume that you're always operating from that place. But let's skip forward and come back to that. But I mean, like, what does a tough day look like for you? And are there like tools? Are there certain things you do to like get through those tough days?
You saw me on some of my toughest days on the bridge of Star Trek Discovery. You've been through a makeup process and you're memorizing dialogue by the paragraph with science fiction terminology in it. You know what I'm talking about. And it's not easy to memorize when you've got a brain like this one.
But he still did it every single day. I just got to say, he still did it. He
God
showed
bless
up.
you. God
And
bless you.
sometimes those scripts were dropped the night before, if not the morning of.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's actually a picture of you and me, Sarah,
Yeah.
from season 1 when you were Ariam, of you holding a script, running my lines with me while we were off stage between shot setups. Do you remember that for that
I
shot?
do. I do.
Yeah.
I think it was Entertainment Weekly or something.
Yeah.
Came in and
Yeah,
took it.
exactly.
Yeah, I do.
God bless him. So, and you. So for me, I think the word empathy comes into play where if I'm having a day where not everything is not, all my ducks aren't in a row or something's not going right, it's no one else's fault. Right? And I think too many of us take out our transgressions and our ill will and feelings on each other. And that person has no idea why you're coming at them that way. So I just kind of put myself in other people's shoes, like, oh, they don't have a clue, so they're just going to get the face cup and the hug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
100%.
kind of just an easy answer, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's true. Just like the walking a mile in someone else's shoes thing.
Yeah.
They have nobody knows what my shoes feel like, so I'm not going to throw them at them.
100%. And then you're able to see that in other people too, right?
Sure,
I
of
mean,
course. Yeah.
I've also been, and I've seen you too, where somebody else is having a bad day, and they are not taking it out on other people, but that empathy, right? It's you also, when you see somebody else having a rough day, it can be so easy to either match it or look down upon them or get frustrated with them. It's a whole other thing to make an active choice to be like, they're having a rough day. I'm going to let them have it and still be the light that I am. in that.
There you go. It's that iceberg sort of imagery. There's just the tip sticking above the water, and all that stuff that the 90% of the iceberg that's underwater. That's the part you're not seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a minute, put on your mask, take a dive under the water, and say, "Oh, you're going through it today. I get it. I get it. I get it."
Yeah. I remember, so one of my fondest memories from season 1, and I know I've said it before, but I can't say it enough, of how much you taking me under your wing for the prosthetics meant. And when I talk about Dougie's mindset, I mean, you know him as the kind and amazing person he is, but the work ethic behind it and your ability to just see the positivity in everything. I remember at the end of, I don't know if it was the first day of filming on the bridge, but we were both getting our prosthetics off, and Dougie started this thing where the moment it came off, I mean, we have all this gross goo on our face, like it is not a pretty picture, but Dougie like ripped it off and he's like, "It's a boy."
It's like a rebirthing process,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And then I was like, "It's a girl." And it
Yes.
just became, but honestly, what that did was after a long, I mean, season 1, from what I remember, they were allowed to do 18-hour days of filming.
Yeah, we did.
And that didn't include prep time, like for us. And so we'd be done after a 20-hour day. But again, your levity and your fun and your positivity with it, I'll never forget that, because at the end of the day, it's so easy to be like, "Ugh, I'm over it," right? But again, it's that active choice to be like, we're still in it and we're still doing it, making light of those moments.
Well, and how do you want to be remembered at the end of that day? Do you want to be remembered as the one who was grumpy and cussed at people, or do you want to be remembered as the one who cupped their face and gave them a hug, even though, because we're all having the same long day, really?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey there, I'm taking a quick pause from the episode to let you know that my ebook, 21 Days of Gratitude, Simple Exercises for a More Positive Life, is now available on Amazon worldwide. Practicing daily intentional gratitude has changed my life, and I hope that you too can discover the transformative power that gratitude has. This book includes 21 easy exercises to boost joy, fulfillment, and peace. Grab your copy today and start your journey to a more positive and happier life. All right, now let's get back to it.
And so I'm a big advocate of self-care and rest. What does that look like for you? Talk to me about during filming seasons, like what is your self-care routine? And then in between seasons, yeah, talk to me about that.
Oh, I wish I took better care of myself. Self-care for me is that realizing that I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. I always thought that I was the extrovert because I'm the life of the party, and hey, I want to go see everybody and go everywhere. But saying yes or no to party invitations. I better go or they'll never invite me again. I better go or they're not going to like me anymore. That's a decision made out of fear, not out of love. I learned that lesson now. Most of the decisions we make in a day are made out of either fear or love. So I've made a conscious choice to make my choices out of love. I want to go to that party or that gathering because I love everybody there and I really want to see them, right? Yeah. Yeah, you're here. And if it's a fearful one, I can let that go now. I'm old enough to be a crotchety old man if I want to be. And like, I'm not going to go. I don't want to go there. But so there's that. So self-care, that's part of my self-care, is being able to know what to say no to now and being okay with that. And you don't have to be a prick when you say no. You can say, gosh, thank you for inviting me. I can't go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
sometimes, I mean, look, sometimes choosing love is choosing yourself,
Sometimes, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes that leads harder decisions and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, sometimes doing the loving thing is saying no.
Sure.
Because your body needs it too, you know?
Sure. And during our long, arduous seasons on Star Trek Discovery, it would take us 8-9 months to do our season. And season 4 was during COVID lockdowns. So we had stops and starts along the way. It took us 11 months it took me 11 months from start to finish. That was a long time alone. And I realized how much alone I could handle. I mean, there's the introvert again. Like, I don't have to go anywhere or see anybody. This is great. You know what I mean? Some of you can probably relate, I'm sure. But so making time, I realized like, okay, I will make more time for me. And Mrs. Laurie is okay with that too. She knows that I'm happier when I've had Dougie time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, especially in an industry where ours too, where the energy expenditure can be so great, you know, it's like you need that time to refuel a little bit and like sit. Do you meditate?
I don't think officially.
I mean, and it
but
doesn't have to be in like I meditate, I'm so zen,
I'm
but
going through a chance. No, I pray. I love knowing that there's a God that's bigger, stronger, with more answers than I have. Love that.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I also I stare at walls or out the window and drool on myself. If that's meditating? I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, I could sit in my room and I'm a daydreamer, right? And I can run through all kinds of conversations or scenarios or dreams of the future, whatever. I would sit on the edge of my bed and look out the window, and then all of a sudden it would be dark out, and my dad would walk by the room going, what are you sitting in a dark room for? Turn the light on. Ah, and then walk away. I'm like, oh, what happened? Yeah. He just so doesn't get me, you know?
Yeah. No, the reason I asked too is because, I mean, what has been your longest prep requirement timing wise
Oh.
for?
Well, here's the thing, because I sit still and drool on myself so easily, and most people would agree that you want to be doing something all the time. I talk to a lot of people who are fidgety doers of things. Like, I get that question all the time. When you're in like a 7-hour makeup, like that's the longest, 7 hours a day for the Hellboy movies as Abe Sapien. Well, thank you for that little titter of claps. That's very sweet of you. That was 12 prosthetic pieces from head to toe that were glued onto me with edges blended on and painted into shaped skin. It was like quite a process. So 7 hours a day before your workday starts is quite a lot. And that's the question, like, what do you do during 7 hours? I would go crazy. Well, that's you. I don't. I sit there going, right? And we'll hear music, we'll tell stories. My makeup artist and I, as you know, when you're in the prosthetic makeup trailer, prosthetic makeup artists are the kookiest, funniest, most creative people, and we're all great friends. So storytelling and quip telling, and I had this weird dream last night telling, and music playing in the trailer and singing along, as you know I do.
Yes, he does.
I have this problem with wanting to be a singer one day with a really bad voice.
Not a bad voice at all. Actually, wildly impressive. I'm pretty sure everyone on the Discovery Bridge cast and crew will testify to this.
I said this on the last Star Trek cruise, if anybody was on that, down to the Caribbean. Yeah, that I wanted to, if showbiz ever gives up on me at my retirement act, I want to do bad cover tunes in Branson, Missouri. Right? With an out-of-touch old white guy sound, right? Like, so, for instance, let's do it for instance,
Let's
shall
do
we?
it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That song, I Will Survive, by Gloria Gaynor, right? First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back. Okay, that's it.
No.
That's it. Oh, you should not clap for that. It only encourages me to do it again.
The podcast is going to turn into a special musical episode. But that's okay, because we never got one on disco, and we all really wanted one, so it's fine. It's fine. But back to this idea of meditation. I love that, because that to me is meditating. Honestly, it is. I don't think meditation is just, sitting cross-legged and trying to go into the nothingness. I mean, I meditate when I do the dishes. I meditate when I cook a meal. I meditate, to me, it's being present.
Mm-hmm.
And from what you're saying, it sounds like it's just a moment for you to be there and be present. Or sure, yes, to be daydreaming, but just to find that stillness. And that's something about you, Dougie. You're so grounding. You're an energy that is so grounding. Like, you light up a room, but you also ground everybody that you touch and interact with. And that's a stillness. I know so many people who work so hard to find that stillness, right? And again, is that how you've always been, that stillness? Like, were you fidgety as a kid? Were you always trying to expend energy, or were you always this beautiful, graceful, still being?
Again, Sarah, that's so hard to answer. Yes, I am all those things. Thank you. And I mean, it's so hard to say,
I'm
right?
just being objective. I'm not like,
Oh,
I'm not here trying to lift you up.
and
I'm just
but
being
no, I
real.
love you for it too. I mean, that's so. If you've observed that in me, God bless you. Thank you so much. I think having been the insecure kid that I was, and that our childhood never seems to leave us, does it? We drag so much of it with us. And imposter syndrome, I don't belong in this room because I'm not good enough to be here, has lived with me all my life. It's happening right now, by the way.
I was about to ask. Okay, we'll come back to that. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes, yes.
okay. So with that feeling of like, I'd never want anyone else to feel that in my presence. That's where that comes from, I think, is that I want them to
Wow.
know that I see you, I appreciate you, I love you, I adore you. You do belong here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
That's so honestly, it's so fascinating for me. And thanks just for admitting that, to be like, I have imposter syndrome right now because you're Doug Jones. You are Doug Jones.
I don't know what that means, but thank you.
You know what though? I think that's something that everybody also in a way loves about you. I think humility is such an important thing, and it's actually very powerful. It's very powerful so that it doesn't, I don't think anybody who ever meets you could ever be like, Doug Jones, an egotistical person. And there's nothing wrong with being egotistical at times, but it's very refreshing to see somebody like you. So many people look up to you, so many people see you, but you make a purpose of it to be on the same level as everyone. And I know everybody appreciates that, anybody who's met you. So thank you also for that. I'm going to just
Thank
keep
you.
singing
Oh
your
my gosh,
praises.
thank you so much.
Okay. So you say you don't have too much of a self-care routine, but I am curious because I see you post some pictures of you in like these amazing upside down headstands or whatever against a wall. So do you have a wellness routine?
Yeah. Physical fitness is a well. I have a trainer friend, Steve Atlas. If you've seen him on the social medias, he's like built like Charles Atlas was back in our day, us old people. And Steve tells me you must move it or lose it. And I'm 64 now, so it's like, oh, well, then we better keep moving it. Right? So, yes, I do have a little skinny boy weight routine that I do. I have a cardio routine that I do. So, uh, and I don't make a big fuss over it, but every so often I'll post a picture of me doing a handstand against a wall because that's going upside down is something he really is a strong advocate of. It's good for your organs
Really?
and your yes, apparently, yes.
I love that. So like how often are we going upside down?
A few times a week. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
For as long as you can hold it until your head just before your head pops.
Okay. Okay, great. I mean, I've heard like, I think in Pilates, it's like the reformers or whatever
Yeah,
that like
yeah.
bring you upside down too. So there's a lot of science
There's a thing to it.
behind
I don't
that.
know. I don't know the science, but I trust Steve Atlas because he's been good to me over these years. Yeah.
Can we dip into faith for just a moment? Because we've never talked about it before. I'm also a very faithful person. And you say that praying is something that's very important to you. I've had so many people ask me over the years to be like, how do you pray? And it's such an interesting question, right? And if you're okay with answering that, because I find that there's so many different answers, because there's so many different ways of doing it. But like when you say pray, what is that for you?
Yeah. Well, my mom's dad, my grandfather, was a Methodist minister. You never wanted him to say a blessing over the food because it went on. It writes, and in the book of John, it says, okay, we know. So for me, I grew up with a lot of that kind of prayer around me, but I find that a conversation with my Savior, that seems to go best. Like, so I usually start my prayers with, "Hey God, it's me," like you would a phone call to a loved one. "Hey, it's me. Call me back, but please."
Yeah, no, I love that. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in it being this like precious, very like regimented thing. And so that's why I always
Right.
like to ask.
And in the
I
right
like-
setting, that works great.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And there's a time for reverent public prayer, of course. And but on a personal daily level, it's like, oh God, forgive me for what I just did. I'm an ass. I get it. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It can be very
absolutely.
casual.
May I ask what your most challenging role was that you did?
As an actor,
Yes, as an actor.
well, I can probably tell you right off. When I did Pan's Labyrinth, I played the Faun and the Pale Man, two characters in that movie. The Pale Man, this guy, is the one who did all the magazine covers and like, imagery, eyeballs and hands, gross. The Faun was my bigger role in that movie. He was the one who guided little Ophelia through her tests and challenges and her growth that she could finally realize herself by the end of the movie. It was in Spanish. Now, this is a 5-hour makeup application to get me into the fawn look, right? So again, we're going through that kind of a taxing day. And I was up on stilts, and I'm 7 feet tall. She's this tall, an 11-year-old girl. So most of my scenes, I'm bent over like this, talking to her, and and so physically very demanding. And I had these ram horns on my head that were very heavy, so my neck was like a very, very skinny neck with very heavy horns on my head. And then add to that paragraphs of dialogue in the Spanish language. It was a Spanish language film. Dougie doesn't speak Spanish. So that meant a lot of interpreting from my English translation of the script to the Spanish translation of the script, breaking down the sentence structure, figuring out exactly what word meant what and how to communicate in the Spanish language, and then sounding it all out and memorizing that. So memorize dialogue in a language you don't speak. It was terrifying to me. I spent 5 months of anxiety before that film ever started shooting, trying to get prepared and up to speed for that one. That was a toughie for me. So my brain and my body had to work really hard together to make that movie happen. But on the wrap day, the very last day of the filming, I was like, we did it. I did it. When they were like, that's a wrap on Doug Jones. It is. That means I did it. Okay, right? But again, imposter syndrome told me that you're never going to get this. But on the last day when they said, you got it, we're done, I'm like, oh, well then imposter syndrome was wrong, wasn't it? Sometimes you got to flip off that feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, in those months of anxiety, in that fear, right? I love studying these moments, but in that fear of those months leading up to it, what got you past that voice, past the voice that's like, you're not going to do this. This is going to be terrible. This is da-da-da-da-da. Like what pushes you through that?
Guillermo del Toro, the director. Because when he offered the role to me and I saw what we had to do, and I just read the most beautiful script in English. Yeah, it's going to be in Spanish. Then I told him to his face, you've got the wrong guy. I can't do it. I'm going to ruin your movie. And he said, that was my imposter syndrome talking. And he said, nope, you have to do it. I couldn't say no to him, right? So he said, you can count to 10 for all I care, and I'll dub over it later, but you are playing the fawn, period. He wrote it for me.
Wow.
So he gave me an option, Sarah. He was tricky. He's a very smart, psychologically based man. Guillermo del Toro knew that if he gave me a cheating out easy option, that I wasn't going to take it, right? Because I didn't want to come off as the guy counting 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then having to dub over that later. I mean, that would have been quite a chore, and the lips wouldn't have matched, right? Yep. Yep. And I'm playing off of an 11-year-old actress who would have been like, some American talking to me in numbers. That's not going to work. So he knew that I would buckle up and be like, that's a cheating option that I could have an easy way out, but I can't leave that on the film. I can't do it. And I guess he just knew that. So I just learned it.
Wow. That's amazing. Has he always been the biggest support in that way throughout your career of just, he keeps pushing you to do these? I mean, Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love that movie. Yeah. We were working on Crimson Peak at the time. Do you remember anyone see Crimson Peak? Yeah. I love that movie. Oh, gothic romance in a haunted house with ghost ladies. I was 2 of them. I'll have a little story about that. Oh, that's another one where it's like, how am I going to pull off 2 ghost ladies, in this movie? And one of them had a dress on. I was the mother ghost at the beginning of the film. That was easy I'm dressed for it, so I could channel it. The bathtub ghost that wakes up and starts following this young lady down the hallway going, leave this place, was naked, stark naked in a bathtub. So they had to glue on a lot of prosthetic old lady saggy parts on me. And so I thought, you know what? I don't have a dress to fall back on. I gotta play this. I gotta play the lady parts. So I'm getting up out of the bathtub like, okay. Right, yeah, okay. I step out of the bathtub, I follow her down the hallway, and Guillermo del Toro yells, "Cut! Dougie, it's too sexy." I was too sexy. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, during the filming of Crimson Peak, one day he had me come to his office during lunchtime so we could discuss his next movie. That's when he told me the story of The Shape of Water. And I was listening, going, "I've played a fish man for you once before, actually twice before, Hellboy 1 and 2. And you want me to do this is a different one?" "Yes, different." He said, "Dougie, you're going to be the romantic leading man of this movie." Did we not just discuss it's a fish man? Yeah. And so it's one of those things where only he could pull it off and cut to us. And I said to him when he told me the whole story, he didn't have a script yet. He was just telling me the story verbally. I said, "You know what? I think this is going to be your next trip to the Oscars." Called it. 13 nominations, 4 wins, including Best Director for him and Best Picture for all of us. That was it's a big.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So yeah, Guillermo is someone who believes in me. I didn't know I could be a romantic leading man ever because that's not what I'm built to be the goofy sidekick. I knew when I looked at myself in the mirror, wanting to be an actor in the first place, I had to be funny or scary. Right? So romantic leading man never occurred to me. And so Guillermo del Toro throws rubber on my face and says, "Now you're a romantic leading man." I'm like, "I don't think I can pull that off." So yeah, again, he believed in me, he pushed me, and we have a beautiful movie out of it. Thank heaven.
Yep. How did you feel? How did that feel to be like, I was the leading romantic man, something you never thought you could? But truly, how did that feel for you, like inside?
Well, it felt, it's funny, I didn't feel like I was acting at all because I was opposite Sally Hawkins, who is a unicorn magical person. And when the camera rolls with her, it's like you're taken away, and that you're not making a movie, you're actually living and breathing a moment. I had the same feeling with Tara Rosling, by the way, who plays Tarina on Star Trek Discovery, right? She's amazing. Okay. So anyway, that's one thing that really just like, that felt wonderful and marvelous. But then it's after the movie came out and people were seeing it and reacting to it, that's when I realized, oh, so I guess I was the romantic leading man of this movie, because a lot of women in the same age bracket as Eliza, played by Sally Hawkins, would come up to me after screenings when I was there in public to sign posters or do Q&A after the screenings. A lot of people would come up to me afterwards, like middle-aged women, going, I really liked you in this movie." I think they wanted to take home their own fish man for the bathtub. I think so.
The fish man is the new prince, you know?
Right.
There you go.
And there was also something fun that happened during that shoot. Well, the design for him was so incredibly gorgeous, the details and the body shape. But you're taking a fish man mutant from the wild, and you have to make him dateable and kissable and sexable, right? How do you pull that look off? So the amphibian man went through many design changes and tweaks, and let's change the lip color, the lip shape, and then the lips and the butt became the 2 most talked about areas on the fish man's design development. So finally, I knew we got it right when we're filming on set, and we've taken a minute to sit down in set chairs between shot setups, and it was a scene that a bunch of us were in. And I finally got up to walk away for just a minute, and I heard Octavia Spencer sit over here, and all I heard was her say, "They got the ass right." Okay, yes.
Thank you. Okay, Dougie, I'm going to start to wrap it up here.
Okay.
With every guest on the podcast, I finish each episode with 2 questions.
Okay.
Given the name of the podcast is called Gratitude and Growth, would you be willing to share something you are grateful for right now and something you are growing through right now yourself.
I am so incredibly grateful for family and all that that means, even friends who are family. But also, when you have a 3-year-old grandson, it changes everything. You know what I mean? I'm just family is everything, and now I have more time to spend with them. So time with family. I'm grateful to have that time, especially at this age in this phase of life. It means more to me now than ever. What was the next one?
Something you're growing through right
Growing
now.
through. We mentioned it twice before. Imposter syndrome. I think I'm trying to grow through that. And the more that people stay in their seats and actually listen to all this drivel that I'm saying, the more I might believe that I'm not imposter after all. No, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dougie, for doing this with me. Thank you so much,
you.
everyone, for coming to
Yay.
this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button, leave me a rating, leave me a review. And if the practice of gratitude is really resonating with you, or if it's spiking your curiosity to change your mindset, to do this inner work, to add more positivity and joy and peace to your life, check out my ebook, 21 Days of Gratitude, Simple Exercises for a More Positive Life. And please join the Gratitude and Growth community. You can go to gratitudegrowth.com and sign up to our email list, or you can find the sign up in the show notes. It'll keep you up to date on free virtual and in-person events, gatherings, new episode releases, all that good stuff. And I hope you find your way back here to another episode, another time, as we keep exploring this beautiful thing that we all call life.